Hi folks, welcome back to the channel and thank you for joining me. You are most welcome. Today we're in the Soviets now, another Soviet plane and a very important one. Not a weird one like the Fiddler, but this time it's the fish bed, the Mig-21, and it's the Vietnam 1/48 scale Mig-21 from Eduard. Now, I better just confront the elephant in the room immediately. Some of you have seen my other reviews. I haven't done a lot of Eduards in fairness, but I have built a couple and I haven't had good experiences. Now I'm not going to say that that's going to have any judgment, it will have any impact on what we see in the box, because it's completely new to me, this. Other people love Eduard and I just can't get to love them. I don't know what it is. And now they've started to make these, done this very strange new decals, which they've started putting on with this top film, which everybody's having a lot of problems with from what I can gather, and that does not fill me with enthusiasm. Don't think that's going to be a problem in this particular kit, because I think it's not quite that new. So I don't think it's going to give us so many troubles in that respect, so I think we can ignore that. But I've had some issues with Eduard. Other people seem to love them though, so I try to keep an open mind, because I keep expecting they're going to come up with a kit that's going to please me and impress me. The Tempest did not impress me, and there were issues with that kit before anybody gets started saying what a great kit that was. There were some problems, you know. And even the 32nd scale 109E was a bit, yeah, that was a bit of an old mould, I think. I won't go into a list of them, but the worst one for me was the Mirage 3, which was tragic. And it wasn't me. I've seen other people having the same problems I had, with terrible fit, huge gaps and joins and seams, and bent parts that banana shapes, and a banana shaped fuselage, banana shaped wing. Come on. We've got Airfix now producing good kits. We've got Revell producing some good kits. So I'm hoping that maybe this will be the one that changes my mind about Eduard. I just want them. I don't want to knock them. These guys make some interesting subjects, and I really want them to be good. So let's hope that this is going to be one of those. So let's have a look. So Mig-21. Well, came in the late 50s. A great aircraft for the Soviet Union, from Soviet Union and Russia. I mean, used by so many air forces around the world, you know, China, North Korea, Iraq, Iran, Syria. I mean, I can just reel off all these countries. Oh, it just goes on and on and on. They've been used all over the place. Cuba and Vietnam, of course. A very high performance, proper high-level interceptor fighter, which was probably top dog really, and it gave the Phantoms a lot of problems, especially at the start of the Vietnam War. Of course, the Phantoms, I talked about this once before, that the initial design of the Phantom had no gun, and this was a big mistake. It's alright firing off these rockets, but once you've fired 3 or 4 of them, 4 of them have gone, you've got no defence left. This aircraft had a couple of cannons on it as well, and it was very fast, and it could it gave the Phantoms a lot of problems and shot a lot of Phantoms down. Obviously the Phantom, they upgraded it, added guns, cannon, and the British, for our part, we brought out the English Electric Lightning. Now this is when this aircraft starts to get unravelled a bit, because the Lightning was more manoeuvrable. This plane was a Mach 2 fighter, but as soon as it did a hard turn, it would scrub off huge amounts of speed. It would really lose its advantage if it had to do a tight turn, more so than its contemporaries. So this was kind of a weakness, I guess, and they ultimately started to get shot down by the Phantoms and other planes in the Vietnam War, and the tactics developed as well. But for quite a while this was top dog and almost ruled the sky. So let's have a look. 48 scale. So one thing that Eduard do very nicely, of course, they give you lots of options and schemes. So at the side here we've got quite a range of them. I think the Vietnam era is quite an interesting era. I'm getting more interested in Vietnam as time goes on. I think it's a long conflict that, you know, there was a lot of stuff went on and a lot of interesting aircraft were involved. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to choose from. This one it's a limited edition, the Vietnam one, and it is product number 11115. And then again some nice artwork on the side. So let's have a look what we got, and then we'll just see if Eduard can actually come up trumps and come up with something that's really nice and interesting. And I mean, they do all this nice stuff, Eduard. They do all this lovely photo etch and You can buy their brass in, resin, brass sets. Do some really good stuff aftermarket. I'm just struggling with some of the kits. Maybe this is the turning point. Let's have a look. Oh, so we've got some decals and a lot of stencils, I can tell you. That's almost phantom-like, isn't it? Must have been a thing about the 50s, 60s that everybody thought you needed millions of stencils on your plane. Right, let us have a look. See if I can make some sense of this. Sorry, I've got a little bit of a crisis inside here. There we go, sorted. Now, where to begin? So, let's start with the instructions. And they always give a nice bit of detail about the aircraft at the beginning. Yep, and it says here, superseding the MiG-15, MiG-17, supersonic fighter jet with a swept wing, blah 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 blah. It's contemporaries with the Northrop F5 Freedom Fighter. Well, I'd say this is probably a better plane. And the Mirage 3. Uh-oh, I'd say this is not such a good plane as the Mirage 3, but anyway. NATO called it the fish bed. And it was made at factories in Moscow, Gorky and Tbilisi. Tbilisi being in Georgia, I think, isn't it? Outside the Soviet Union, it flew with Czechoslovakia, that's another one I forgot. Pakistan, another one I forgot. Gosh, it's a huge number of countries, isn't it? Anyway, let's get cracking and have a look at this, what we got. So, typical Eduard, it starts giving you a little bit of a sort of a sprue tree map, and it also indicates which parts you are and are not going to actually use. So you will not be using the ones that are sort of blued out, essentially, because that'll be a different variant. You get a mask, of course, and something else Eduard do that so I'm not knocking Eduard, they do lots of things I like. They do masks, they do detailed photo etch parts, are all brilliant, they're all good. Anyway, we're starting off here and we've got our, essentially it's our nose bay, gear bay. I don't find them the clearest instructions, Eduards. It's the old problem, it's not the artwork, the pictures are good, it's just the explanations are not always very clear, I think. I think this is becoming a beef of mine. I moan about instructions from a lot of manufacturers, but Eduard is the one that I kind of expect them to get them a little bit better. Perhaps it's because they don't want to use English on the instructions. I think this is the issue. But yeah, not too bad. They've got some English thing optional, you know. You're not left to guess in the way you are with something like Hong Kong model. I mean, those are just appalling, anything at all. There's no words on it, basically. Anyway, we're building up the instrument set and the major controls that are in front of the pilot here. Then we're sort of building up what is going to become the, I was saying it was the gear bay. It is in fact part of the, is it the gear bay? Again, it doesn't tell you. This is what I find a little bit irritating. Why can't they say gear bay instruments? Yeah, why is that asking too much? Anyway, I think I might be right. Probably it's the gear bay. It's just that you've got a similar thing here. Is it the gear bay or is it the part of the cockpit? It's the gear well, isn't it? Front gear well. Yeah, it's there. But it's not clear. Why can't we just have a bit of info? Come on. Canopy open. Yeah, okay. So we've got the stick going in here and the instruments, and then we're starting to build the engine, which looks quite nicely detailed. This the engine. So you've got the this is the rear of it. You've got your afterburner ring here. The back of the blades from the main engine here, and then you've got your nozzles at the back. Lots of details here, quite a few photo etch parts going in there as well. Here we've got this is the major section where the main gear goes, tucks up into the fuselage. Then we're building up the internal fuselage sides, and we've got again lots of photo etch as you'd expect with Eduard. And it's going to be nice and detailed, I'm sure, when we get to that. In fact, we'll get to it right now. Let's have a quick look while we're integrating it into the instructions. Those are really nice, as usual. Look at that. I'm sort of digressing here, but wow, look at those. Those are nice, aren't they? First class. Seat belts, all the instruments at the side, and the main instruments, complete with the the glasswork and the instruments themselves, but they've got the like the Fresnel covers on them. That's really good. Ejector pull handles and everything. That's very nice, isn't it? Very nice. We'll come back to that. Back to the instructions. Mustn't jump around. Just that I saw it and I thought, well, it's quite pertinent. Let's have a look. So, then you put in all those parts, and then you're going to, in a very unitary sort of conceptual way, you're going to bring all these elements together. So you've got your nose, which has got, it has radar on this. I'm not sure if it has much of a radar, maybe a small one. Nose intake, then you've got your cockpit, you've got your bulkheads, and then you've got your engine going in at the back. Tail section is this like a top piece, so it covers up the seam, but you end up with another seam, don't you? Which is kind of strange. You've got a seam down the middle anyway, so that's a bit odd. And you've got your nose covering at the front there. Then you're building up the famous delta wing with your air brakes, and then you're building into that the internals for the gear wells. And you've got the where the actual gear tucks in here, this section we've already seen, that's going in underneath. It's quite a modular construction, isn't it, the way it's going together. Let's hope there's not too many seams, but certainly this design is good. This design is going to avoid a seam, isn't it, with the wing. And then we've got the tails going on, tail planes I should say. Did we have a rudder? Yeah, I skipped over that. We did have a rudder on the previous page. That's good. You can position that, I guess. And then you've got the tops of the wings and your flaps and your ailerons all going in here. And we've got some PE air fences again, like we saw in the recent kit from Trumpeter. So air brake closed, air brake open. That's the underside air brake. And you've got the main straight that goes down the middle at the back, which is quite a feature in the plane. Then you've got lots of details here, lots of little air brakes here. Open air brakes, there we go. So you've got two that split, and you've got one in the middle that sticks up as well. Got a lot of air brakes. It must take a lot of slowing down, this thing. Because it's a very slippery shape, and that's part of the reason, isn't it, really? Then we've got building up our wheels, which is doesn't look like the weight on wheels, it's a bit of a shame, but anyway, there's quite a few PE parts for some of the actuation system. And then you got the nose wheel going together there, which looks quite nice, and again there's some PE parts in there too. And popping your nose wheel in, and then you're building up your coaming for your cockpit. Popping that in above the instruments. Then you're building the, quite late, you're building the ejector seat. And you've got, that's quite a detailed one, isn't it, actually? That looks quite good, I've got to say. And then you've got these lovely PE harnesses going in to go on the seat as well. And then we've got the canopy with the open or closed option. Popping in your seat there, down on its rail. And then deciding whether to have it open or closed on the canopy. Then you've got these various PE aerials on the backs of the wings and the tail. Then we've got an external fuel tank, 490 litres, and an air-to-air missile, 4 hard points obviously. So pylons there, and then you've got a choice of your different pylons, and you've also got on here what looks like rocket assisted takeoff pods here. RATO, rocket assisted takeoff, which you blast off with them and then you eject them once you're airborne. They eject and drop them to the ground. Don't know if they come down a little parachute, I'm not sure. I think they do. I think they drop them at sort of 500 feet or something in a little parachute. So obviously it takes a lot of getting up in the air and a lot of stopping when it comes back down. And then you've got your various masks for your canopy and various other little windows. Eduard did this really well, it has to be said. One of my things I like about them for sure. And then on to the schemes. Okay, so Number of schemes. Looks like we've got the. Don't get this is Vietnamese, so we've got a whole load of places I probably can't pronounce. Than Thuan, Nguyen Than Huan. Yes, I'm probably going to leave off this because I'm going to get into a mess here. But I like the fact they give you a little story about each one with some factual data about the aircraft. Well, yes, there's a little story for every one of them. That's really interesting. I like that. Anyway, so you've got your markings here. This one's interesting. It's like a wallpapery style. Almost looks like a World War One scheme, that. How bizarre. Democratic Republic of Vietnam, really? Not sure about that. Not sure how democratic it was, let's be honest. Right, it's 1968. Wow. And then we have got really sort of a wicked looking one, this one, isn't it? Look at that scheme. It's almost like polka dots. Looks like an animal, doesn't it? Something from nature, like a caterpillar almost. Little dots on it, all metal underneath. And then we've got this, what looks really more like a Middle Eastern scheme here, which is interesting, isn't it? Even the star has been greened out. How interesting. So obviously it's a... Okay, they had camouflage used in the Soviet Air Force. So they were masked off, removed the markings with the silver Russian star, put their own markings on. Wow, you can. That's a nice scheme. I like that. It's got a bit of a story. I like the way they do the story. This is what the others need to do. Give us some background, make it interesting, a bit of history, you know. And then you've got all your stencil positions here for all your weapons. And there are a lot of stencils. A lot. Oh. If you like Phantoms, you'll enjoy this. It must just have been a thing in that era where they had stencils for everything. That's quite a lot of stencil work. That's going to take you about 3 weeks. Anyway, so far so good. Looks alright, doesn't it? So, let's have a look what we've got now. We've got resealable bags today, so we don't have to cut anything. That's nice. Let's have a look at the decals. Old habits die hard, you see. Decals. Oh, come on. Right, now then. Let's bring you in good and close so you can see this. See what we have. Let's see. Right, now Eduard's, this is 2018, the date on this. So I don't think these are the problem decals. I think these are very conventional Eduard decals of old. Not going to start having these problems with this carrier film you can't get off the top of. And they look very nice actually. They've got this sort of a low, sort of almost a matte satin finish. Not many of them, is there really? But they're nicely, tightly trimmed. There's no excessive carrier film. Just what you'd expect from Eduard. Maybe not today, but as they used to be. And then we've got, oh my god, millions of these. Oh my goodness, how many are there? There are, well, there's at least 160 thereabouts. Best part 160 of these to put on the aircraft, so that's a lot of stencils. But they're nice, they look very nicely printed. I can't read Vietnamese, so I can't tell you what it says. Sorry about that. But those look very nice. It's a trophy pack, made in the Czech Republic, so they're made by Eduard, all those decals. Let's just pop that back on there. Right, lighten a bit. Now then, let's have a look at I know you're not seeing much here, sorry, I'm just fighting with this, trying to get to get the tissue back onto it. Anyway, that's all right. Then we have the Eduard traditional masking set, which, as we said, they're worth their weight in gold. I wish other manufacturers would start doing this as well. They're really good, and they're so good that most of the time we buy an Eduard set for other manufacturers, which tells you all you need to know, really. We've already talked about these very impressive instruments here, and on the reverse we have got the photo-etch. Not a lot of it, not a huge amount, but it's very nice. And of course it's typical Profi pack from Eduard. It's very thin, nicely done. Open this, can't we? I think we can. Let's just get it out. Now then, look at that. That's nice, isn't it? Yep, it's this actuation system that's going part of the main legs for the gear, and these are those little air fences that go on top of the wing. It's kind of it really, just apart from a few of the small parts, but yeah, that's nice. And those air fences, you know, you need to get those scale like, so it's good that they've used photo-etch for that. Now we have got an extra in this kit. We have got some Aftermarket, and it's Barracuda, and it is the intake nose of the plane, the radome. There we go. Said there was a radar in there, didn't I? And the other part is I think it's the back ring for it. So it's two parts of the same thing. Now I have to say, I am a fan of Barracuda stuff. And here we go, radome set, Barracuda. They always produce a nice product, Barracuda. And that looks brilliant. It's perfect. Just going to give it that bit of presence compared to the standard part. And we haven't seen the standard part yet, so I'm not, again, a bit of comparison. I'll just pop that on one side. We'll look at that in a second. We've got, strangely, we've got two bags from Eduard. They haven't separately bagged them like they tend to do, I think now. Separate bags? No, they don't, do they? I'm wrong. Just do in one bag, so this is probably a good thing. Let's have a look at what we got then. Oh, something's come off the sprue here. Or has it? Felt like it was loose then. I'm sure something just fell off. Felt very nice. Yeah, you see, I don't like the way they force the parts together. They need, like Airfix, isn't it? Come on, put them in a separate bag, please. Let's not be silly about it. Right, now let's start with that radome. We can get that out of the way. Let's just do this comparison, what we just talked about. Here is the kit part, which in fairness looks pretty good, if I'm being honest about it. And here is the part in the resin. It's kind of hard to compare them because the resin's so flat, it's like a matte finish. I would say, yes, the resin just looks better at the actual tip. Can you see that? I'm not sure if you can really tell. It just looks a little bit more perfect, perhaps. But in fairness, the injection molded plastic's not bad at all. So, let's have a close look at this. If you just bear with me a second, let me just pop these away because otherwise I don't want them to get damaged. They're too nice. There we go. Good old Barracuda, they never let you down, do they? Right. So, quite a few parts to see here. Very nicely moulded, and you tend to find with Eduard that they do get the finish nice as well. So what we got? We have got various parts. This is a fan blade here. Look at the way they moulded it to support it. That's incredible. It's a work of art. Here we've got the petals at the back of the engine. There. Very nice. You've got a lot of parts. You get this with Eduard as well. A lot of little parts. They're really going for a lot of high part count, which can be a bit of a pain. But there's nothing wrong with them. They look nice. You know, what you don't want is like, what was the one I did that I struggled with? Oh yeah, I remember. It was the Revell F-15E Strike Eagle. That's quite a high, fairly high part count. The problem was that the little parts like that were flashy as hell. Oh, it was a nightmare. Every part needed to be cleaned up, and there's zillions of them. And you look at it and you think, no. But I did it in the end. But look at this, no problem here at all. This is really clean and sharp. Really nice moulding. So let's have a closer look in. You've got your wheels here, tyres. Well, there's all the tyres already. Those are the wheels themselves here. There. And you've got the front wheels and front tyres. All looks really nice. You've got the, I think it's a pitot head, isn't it, that comes out from under the wing on the MiG-21. It's quite a nice aircraft, the MiG-21 actually. It's not a great dogfighter, I don't think, but otherwise very good plane for them. Served the Soviet Union very well, I think. Right, I'm going to put that aside very carefully because there's a lot of gentle, delicate parts there. Let's have a look at the next one. What have we got here? All sorts is the answer. We've got compressor blades here, bulkhead. This is the side of the wall for the gear bay. Then we've got, again, there's a lot of parts. That's the thing that strikes me, this model. High part count here. If you like lots of parts and getting your money's worth, this is the one for you. Sometimes with these manufacturers, they just add parts for the sake of it to say they've got, 500 parts or whatever. It doesn't say on this kit. I'm just wondering if it actually tells us anywhere. I'm sure it does somewhere, but won't worry about it now. But there's a lot in summary. And again, the moulding quality is really crisp. There's no flash. It's very, very finely done. Lots and lots of detail is included. So that's very nice. Can't fault that sprue either. Now then, what we got now? How about this? This is the fuselage. Wow. It's quite big at 48 scale, isn't it? It's a big old plane. And then you've got all your little air brakes here. And you've got your coving for the top of the canopy, in the cockpit. Beneath the canopy you've got your air-to-air missiles. Again, nice moulding here. And you've got your air brakes at the other end, for underneath. And then you've got this beautiful fuselage, lots and lots of lovely detail. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Is it too subtle? Not sure. It looks okay. It is very subtle. It's not deep panel lines. It's just slightly concerned that these might fill in a bit if you start using primers as well as your various paints. Nice sprue, another good one. Excellent. And then we're on to the wings. Let's see. Here we go. Yes, I get just what you'd expect from Eduard, to be honest. It's very nicely finished. It's got a sort of satin finish to it. And lots of detail. Look at the rivet detail here in the panel lines. Beautiful. Nicely designed in one piece so you can avoid a seam in the middle. Here's your flaps and elevators. There's your tail, which is in two halves. Oh, sorry, tail planes. I mean, tail planes. I thought that's strange because there's two of them. Tail planes, and that's the top of the wing. And again, beautiful. A little bit inconsistently finished, but it's just the way it's moulded. That's in the moulding of the plastic itself, where it's melted rather than on the surface. No problem. Let's see what else we got. In fact, we need to pop that back. So, bear with me a second while we reassemble this. The sprues need to go back together. I don't like it when it's in this one bag and you've got 4 sprues. It's not something I approve of at all. I think they need to listen to the same advice I gave to Airfix and stop doing it, frankly. magic trick. Here we go. Pop it down, fold it over, and dig it. There we are. Look at that, that's a magic trick. Did it in one go. Just like that, as Tommy Cooper would say. Well, you in the States won't know who Tommy Cooper is, I suppose. Never mind, he's a comedian from the 1960s in the UK. Right, let's have a look. Again, one big bag with lots of sprues in it, although the clear parts are in a separate bag. Now, whether that's been done by the owner or it came like that, I'm not entirely sure, because I don't own this one. Kind of jealous. It's quite nice, isn't it? Right then, here we go. Whoops, get the right way around. Here we are. Now then, so this is where we've got the top sort of coving and tail section here. And that's beautiful as well. Really fine detail. Very, very fine though. It's almost like there is some marring in the surface there a little bit. It's can't feel it, but you can see it. But I wonder about, I'm a bit worried about the fineness of this pan lining being too fine. And whether it'll fill in or not, because it's a danger. Again, many small parts, little fins and flip-ups and aerials and antennas. And then the other side, obviously, we've got the other side of the tail section. And the fillet that goes across the back. The top, I should say. Pop that there. Nice kit though. I'm just going to make a disclaimer about Eduard. I shall say it now and I shall say it again at the end. I have said this before, I've opened Eduard kits and I've said, oh, it's beautiful, beautiful. And then I've come to build them and they've not been as beautiful as I thought. So I'm not saying that's the case here at all. But just be wary, anybody like me who gets a kit out of a box and describes it, it's not going to tell you how it's going to build, it's only going to give you an indication of the quality of the attention to detail that people have put into it at the factory. Just saying. Anyway, we've got lots of weapons here. We've got some quite interesting ones. Is it Arab or Assam? Is it called, that missile? Can't remember the Russian missile. A couple of air-to-air missiles here, I think. Another one here. It's quite a nice looking one as well. Tanks. These are the RATO, the rocket assisted takeoff packs that I spoke about. That you get dispensed with. And then you've got some other lovely air-to-air missiles here. Beautifully moulded, these. I would just say the only disappointment here is that they're not really at Great Wall hobby standard. Look at the back end of the rocket. You know, they're not hollowed out with the rocket motor. It's just flat, you know, a blanked off bit of plastic, which is a bit of a shame because other manufacturers are doing that a little bit better now, if we're honest. Anyway, and then we actually have another sprue which is the same sprue again. He says, is it exactly the same? Yes, it is. But I didn't major on this one. Here's one that looks quite wicked, and a very sort of sidewinder-ish looking rocket there. A couple of rockets, missiles. Yes, you mustn't get that wrong. Missiles, you know, are designed to fly in the air, and rockets are designed to fly against the ground, I believe. And then last but not least, we've got the clear parts. So, in a settled bag of its own, I don't know if that's an aftermarket bag, if you know what I mean, or what, but there is actually a piece that's off the sprue here. It's the windscreen on one of them. There's more than one option here. So look at that then. Ooh, the clear parts are beautiful. Look at this. It's a very nice windscreen, that one. Yeah, that's nice. And the thing is with the MiG aircraft, they always seem to have, well, I was going to say always, that's not quite right, is it? But most of them, I was just thinking about the MiG-31 and then some of the MiG-25 models, they haven't got great visibility. But the early ones like the MiG-21 do have, and if you look carefully you can see there's some nice rivet detail around that framework there. There's a little bit of distortion. It's not the best I've ever seen, but it's pretty good. Pretty good. Nice piece of glassware there. And then the rest of it, well, there's a whole load of lovely glass here. Look at that. 2 different canopy options there are there. Yeah. If I'm honest, this other second windscreen doesn't look as good as that one that's off the sprue. Doesn't seem quite as clear to me. Doesn't have the clarity, or also seems a bit more distortion in it. I don't know if it's picking up on the camera, but I can certainly see it's not quite as, it's a bit more cloudy, a bit more distorted. Yeah, a bit scratchy in places. Perhaps it's, don't know, a bit abrased by something. Anyway, the main canopy's there, and you've got 3 versions of it. 3 different versions. One, I think one's the closed. Interesting. And then you've got the instrumentation here. Where are we? There. Instrumentation. Quite nice, isn't it? Nice. I mean, I have to say that some of Eduard's kits, when they do this, that's a sensible sprue. The design of this sprue is very, very good. On some of those, you'll know they do it on this like a wheel thing, and bits break off every time they do it. It's just stupid. That's a strong sprue. It protects the parts mainly, but it's come out well, and they look nice. Nice glass parts. Can't fault the clear parts at all, really. And there we have it, really. So if I can just rescue those parts back to what's there that are the same. They should go back in, absolutely no bother at all, he says. Yes, no problem. Eduard's bags are pretty good actually. Quite handy for getting back in. So there we have it. I must say that I do like a Mig-21, and I like this one especially. That's a nice kit. However, I'm not trying to be negative about Eduard, but I just always feel if I give a rave review, I'm going to end up looking like a fool later, because people will try and build it and say it's awful. Maybe that's a bit strong. Okay. But on the face of it, that looks really, really nice. The moulding is beautiful. Great decals, lovely photo etch, fantastic interior, cockpit interior, canopy masks, it's got everything you need. And the Mig-21 is such an iconic aircraft of that era, especially at the start of the Vietnam War, early days, early years. It's an interesting subject, interesting that it's from Vietnam as well. Still not very keen on some elements of the instructions. I mean, they do the colour call-outs so beautifully with all that lovely detail and data about the aircraft and what happened to it, and yet, in the instructions itself there's very little information in places. Not enough. They need to be just a bit more clear. Let's have a nice heading. Same goes for Airfix and others. Come on, tell us what we're building. Is this the gear? Is it the gear bay, or is it the cockpit? Or what is it exactly? Because it's not always clear. Just tell us with the heading, gear bay. Cockpit. Most people do that. Tamiya do. Most of the good manufacturers do. So I don't understand why they don't. But anyway. That's probably the nicest Eduard I've looked at for a long time, but as I said that about the Mirage, and then try and build it and it was nightmarish, and other people have had all the same problems. So I have a feeling though that this one is going to be okay. In terms of the age of this, do we have a date? Did I actually check that? I can't see it. I'm going to double check. This one was 28, so this was a bit recent that was the trumpet on. We don't have an age on this. Is there a date? It is 2018. Ah, okay. Oh, we've got a chance then, haven't we? We've got a chance of it being pretty good. But the Tempest was 2018, and that wasn't one of their better products, I can tell you. And again, it looked beautiful in the box, but try building it. Anyway. I'm not going to second guess that, and I don't judge others on what they're built like, so I can only judge it on the in-box review. So I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10. I think that's pretty fair. Looks very, very nice. 1 or 2 issues with the instructions and things, but overall looks quite a nice kit. just want to watch out on some of their finishing here and there, but no, overall it's a nice MiG-21. I think I'm building to a cracker, hopefully. 8.5 out of 10. Anyway, I hope you'll give me 8.5 out of 10, at least with a thumbs up. Nice to have an Eduard kit that I can smile about at the end, because sometimes I get a bit down on them, you know. I just feel I've had these false dawns of them before, but I'm hopeful that will be better. I think that's going to be a good one. Don't forget, if you haven't subscribed already, that you should click the subscribe button and you'll get notification of any new videos, especially if you ding the notification bell, because that gives you early warning. Don't forget to comment if you've built this kit already, what your thoughts were, and if it was nice to build. I'm very interested to hear from people that actually build it, because then I get a better feel for the comparison of what you see today and what the final experience of it, you know, of actually making the kit up is. And I think it's quite important. So please let me know what your thoughts are. Don't forget, there will be more videos coming in the not too distant future, I'm sure. So in the meantime, thank you very, very much for joining me. You're most welcome, and it was great to have you along. Hope you found it interesting. And until next time, thanks very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.